What's up everyone, I'm CallumOnToast, and in today's video I'm going to be showcasing just how deadly triple axle Froslass can be in the Holiday Cup meta. Now if you try to sim triple axle Froslass on PV Poke, it might not look particularly promising, but all you need is one good matchup where you can come out after it having boosted or maybe double boosted your attack, and suddenly even Pokemon that typically do very well against Froslass, like a Lantern, are going to be super scared of a boosted Shadow Ball. Now this team is a bit strange, running double ice with Galarian Zapdos in the lead. If you do see a fire type like Skeledirge or Talonflame where they're also resisting the counter damage, then you're typically not going to do very well, but I didn't see too many of those. So once again, whilst the team doesn't necessarily look that good on paper, it actually did perform very well for me. So with that being said, let's just get into the question of the day. We're now several weeks into the new season, so what I want to know is, what do you think is the most underrated move update from this season? Let me know in the comment section down below, and with that being said, let's get into the battles now. Alright, so going into the first battle, we see Zapdos into Lantern. I saw a lot of Lantern leads with this team. I think the best case scenario is actually just going straight for the close combat, and if the opponent doesn't throw straight away, I'm going to swap into my Froslass. If they do throw straight away, I will shield and then swap into my Froslass, but the opponent comes in with Ludicolo, and this is not a strong response to Froslass, so we go for the triple axle, boosting our attack. Obviously, doesn't do too much damage there, but I can safely shield this up. I will be able to very comfortably outpace the Ludicolo to the next charge move, so I'm going to farm to the back-to-back triple axles, throwing just before they make it to the next charge move. Triple axle takes out the Ludicolo, they come back in with their Lantern. I'm going to let this move go through here, and the opponent's Surf doesn't quite take us out, and we make it to a Shadow Ball. We are 2 stages buffed, and that takes out the Lantern. They've got Serperior in the back, and we're looking very comfortable right now. I'm going to swap, catch the Air Release onto my Arctipax just for the sake of it. Pretty unnecessary, to be honest, but we're able to catch the move. I will be able to go straight for an Icy Wind. I can actually just let this move go through as well. They're not going to be able to Vine Whip farm me down, and I do believe Frenzy Plant's probably actually slightly better to go for in this matchup, but it doesn't really matter. Icy Wind takes out the Serperior, and I'm able to take that game. So GG's to the opponent there. Internet's going to see Zapdos into Shadow Wall Rain, so a pretty good lead matchup for us. They will outpace me to the charge move, but the opponent swaps there, and I got quite a lot of lag there. Since I got my my repaired phone back, it's been very good, but there was slightly weird, but it doesn't really matter. We can go for that triple axle. I'm going to undercharge it slightly. The opponent uses their shield, but it doesn't really matter. I can now just safely shield this up, and my boosted Powder Snows will easily fast move, farm down the Tropius, and I come out with a Shadow Ball loaded. So I throw it straight away into the Shadow Wall Rain coming back in. That does huge damage there. Can we get the Powder Snow farm down? Not quite, but I do go for the triple axle. This will be taking out the Wall Rain, and it just depends what do they have in the pack. They've got Shadow Victory Bell. We can come in with the Arctipax, and the opponent just concedes the match there. So once again, triple axle Froslass putting in so much work in the mid-game matchups, but into the next game we're going to see Lurantis in the lead, so my entire team does very well here, especially Zapdos, since we do resist everything they can throw, also double resisting the Fury Cutters. The opponent then swaps into Vigoroth, which is kind of awkward because this is my Vigoroth counter, but we go for the close combat. We now swap into our Froslass, and because I'm running triple axle, I know that actually in this scenario, an Avalanche would be better because it would definitely take them out. I wasn't sure if Triple Axle would take out the Vigoroth here, so I'm actually going to double shield, farm up to nearly 100, well actually over 100 energy, go for the Triple Axle. I don't expect them to shield, but now we're boosted. They come in with a Lantern, so I'm actually going to go for another bait here, going for a Triple Axle, and if they shield this up, I'm going to boost my attack once again. Now we can go for a Shadow Ball, and Shadow Ball is going to do absolutely huge damage to the Lantern, and as well, for the sake of it, I swap into my Zapdos to catch the charge move. Very unnecessary there, as I've got my Arctipax that can very easily sweep this game here. But we're going to come in with the Arctipax, get the farm down, and I will now be able to make it to a Dragon Claw before the opponent makes it to a Superpower, and this Dragon Claw will be enough damage to take out Lurantis, and I'm able to take that game. So GG's to the opponent there. Into the next game, absolutely awful core breaker for my team, and unfortunately the opponent swaps out immediately into their Skeledirge, so really good reactions there as they I guess they anticipated that I was going to swap straight away. They go for Disarming Voice. We do barely live that, but it doesn't really matter. It actually works out in their favor because they get 1 extra Incinerate in, and they only take a couple of resisted Powder Snow. So we're going to come in with the Arctibax here, and they should be able to make it to 2 charge moves before I can take out the Scaly Dirge here. So I overfarmed there. That's definitely a mistake. I will have to double shield my Arctibax, and they've got Talonflame in the back, so it's looking pretty bad for us. Double fire is definitely a massive issue for my team. We're going to go for the Dragon Claw here, and then I'm actually going to try and overfarm potentially, but the opponent actually just fully sacrifices the Talonflame. They recognize that Whimsicott is the win condition, so we are going to go and make it to an Icy Wind here, and then I'm going to swap into my Zapdos. I don't know what I'm trying to do here. It doesn't matter. Moonblast easily one-shots us. I could throw the charge move, but that's just pointless. So the opponent able to Fairy Wind, farm me down, and take that game. So into next game, another Lantern in the lead. Again, running Water Gun. I think I have got at least one example of a Lantern running Spark, but either way I play it out exactly the same. Go for the close combat, grab a shield, and now I will shield in return, and then swap into my Froslass, and let's see what the opponent wants to do. They're going to bank a ton of energy. They swap, they try to catch the Shadow Ball, but that's a big mistake. We've got a huge energy advantage. Triple Axle, going to be boosting my attack. It also doesn't do too much damage the first time around, but that almost lures the opponent into no shielding the second one. We get the Powder Snow farm down, and let's see what the opponent wants to do now. We flip switch up against the Vigoroth. They come back in with the Lantern. We lived the Surf last time. Can we live it again and make it to a Shadow Ball? Unfortunately not this time, but we come in with the Arctibax. We can completely wall the Lantern, probably go for the full Dragon Breath farm down, but the opponent swaps into a Shadow Credilli. So I'm going for the Icy Wind, gonna debuff their attack, and now I'm thinking I should be able to very comfortably live a Rock Slide from the Shadow Credilli now that it is debuffed. Excuse me there, I don't know what happened there. I think I like burped, but unfortunately that was not the case as they take me out with the Bullet Seed damage. But it doesn't matter, we can just Dragon Breath, farm down the Credilli, and Lantern has nowhere to run, so they're just going to concede the match there. Well, actually they did have a place to run as they ran away from the battle, but GG's to that opponent there. Into next game we see Altaria in the lead, and I make a mistake here. In future battles, I believe I swap into my Arctibax just because I feel like Froslass has a lot more closing power with that triple axle versus in this matchup up against the Lantern, it's not the best situation to be in. So we're going to shield up the Thunderbolt. I will now be able to grab a shield back from the opponent. I feel like getting all shields down is probably my best play for this battle, but I still not 100% sure if we can flip this here. So I'm going to double shield my Froslass. Honestly, if they want to no shield this, I'm actually in a really bad position. So I need the opponent to shield this up, and they do end up shielding. They go for the full farm down, which is not ideal for me, but we can come in with the Arctibax, go for the full Dragon Breath farm down, and hopefully they only make it to a Thunderbolt, but the opponent does also make it to a Surf. Surf still going to be resisted, not going to do too much damage, but it does put me very low. We come in with the Zapdos, and can we take out the Altaria with a Brave Bird? Brave Bird going to do huge damage here, but it's not quite enough damage to take out the Altaria. They can take me out with a Sky Attack. I will be able to Dragon Breath farm them down, but unfortunately an Icy Wind or a Dragon Claw, whatever I throw, would not take out the Vigoroth, so I'm just going to let the opponent go for a Body Slam, taking out the Arctibax, and we do unfortunately lose that game. So GG's to that opponent there. Into next, going to see Vigoroth in the lead. The opponent safe swaps into Lantern, so we're going to respond with the Arctibax, and this is a pretty comfortable position to be in. Although, if the opponent wants to shield, and I no shield the next charge move, then we could be in a little bit of a tricky position here, but I actually don't really care too much about switch advantage. If I get any kind of shield advantage, switch advantage, I will be happy because Froslass can very easily take care of the Vigoroth when we do have a shield advantage. So here, I'm actually going to let the move go through. They go for the Thunderbolt, taking us out, but that's absolutely fine with me. We're going to come in with the Zapdos, get the counter farm down. They come back in with the Vigoroth, which is very interesting. I'm going straight for the close combat. We one-shot the Vigoroth, and they've got a Venusaur in the back. So, yeah, it worked out well for me there, and I'm able to take that game. Into next game, another Altaria in the lead. So this time around, I'm going to swap into my Arctibax, and the opponent comes in with Greedent, so not Vigoroth, so that's definitely a lot better for me. But I think even up against a Vigoroth, we could go for an Icy Wind, debuff their attack, and then farm them down with my Zapdos and come out with nearly a Brave Bird loaded to throw into the Altaria. So either way, doesn't really matter, but I think in this matchup, I can probably just flip this in the zero shield scenario. If the opponent wants to shield, that's fine with me. I probably will shield just because Dragon Breath would be able to fast move farm them down, but they do play out the zero shield scenario, and we do flip switch advantage. They're going to come in with the Altaria, we're going to come in with the Froslass, and this is quite tricky for us. Water Gun Lantern does core break my team with the Zapdos and the Froslass, so we go for a Shadow Ball. I swap into my Zapdos here, and I'm feeling like it's quite unlikely that they're just going to go straight for the Thunderbolt, so I know shield, it's just the Surf, and the counter damage here, even if they shield the close combat, which I fully expect them to do, should put them into range where a Shadow Ball will basically take them out here, especially with the Powder Snow damage. They do have a lot of energy though, so I've got to be careful. Gonna shield the first move as they go for a Surf, gonna shield the second move as well, and I fully anticipate that the opponent is gonna try and catch a Shadow Ball onto the Altaria, so I hold onto the energy perfectly. We can now go for a triple axle. I don't want to overfarm too much just because these Dragon Breaths are really chunking, but I will now be able to make it to a boosted Shadow Ball, and up against the Lantern, this is going to be enough damage to take out the Lantern, and I'm able to take that game. So GG to that opponent there. Into the next game, we see Zapdos into Shadow Alolan Sandslash, so really good lead for us. The opponent safe swaps into Froslass, and I took way too long to swap out there. We come in with the Arctibax. I'm going to shield the first move, and the opponent is also running triple axle, and because I've given them such a massive energy advantage, I'm in a pretty bad position as well. I timed my charge move really badly there, giving them a full Powder Snow in for free. So I'm going to shield this up. I'm hoping that I can steal a Dragon Breath, farm them down before they make it to the next charge move, but I make a huge mistake there. A combination of being too slow to swap out and also throwing on alignment allows the opponent to flip switch advantage, and they've got Shadow Charizard in the back. So honestly, even if they didn't flip switch there, Shadow Charizard probably still solos my team anyway, so it probably would have been a loss either way. But the opponent goes for the Blast Burn, one-shotting the Froslass. They can safely attack, farm down my Zapdos, and unfortunately we do lose that game. But GG's to that opponent there, and you can see the power of that Froslass with triple axle from the opponent's end instead of my end. But into the next game, we see Litleo in the lead, so very good lead. Gonna come in with my Froslass since it does get completely walled by the Litleo. And I have played Amoonguss recently. I know that it does have foul play, so I end up shielding that up. Just a Grass Knot, either way, probably would have done quite a lot of damage. But they come back in with the Litleo, and this is where Triple Axle being able to boost my attack there. Obviously, that doesn't do too much damage, but the next Triple Axle is going to get Litleo incredibly low. So I'm actually going to grab a shield from the opponent there. So we're going to come in with the Zapdos. The opponent comes in with a Mud Slap Golurk. So this is a really positive matchup for us. I'm going to let the Shadow Punch go through. Not going to do too much damage here. And now I will go for a Brave Bird. Obviously, a close combat is going to be double resisted, so no point in baiting. We grab the shield there. Pretty obvious that they would shield, but it doesn't matter. We can now come in with the Arctibax. I'm going to use my shield, and the opponent full sends a Dynamic Punch. So now I should just be able to Dragon Breath, farm them all the way down. They do barely make it to a Shadow Punch, but that's fine with me. I'm also not going to throw straight away just because I feel like if the opponent, well, if a Dragon Claw doesn't quite take them out there and they're able to incinerate, farm me down, we'd be in a really bad position. But essentially, we force the opponent to throw straight away, and that allows me to make it to the close combat, taking out the Litleo, and I'm able to take that game. So into the next game, really bad lead, going to safe swap into my Froslass, and the opponent comes in with a Vigoroth. So we've seen already, Triple Axle can flip this matchup fairly easily, especially in the two shield scenario there. As you can see, these Powder Snows are really chunking already. I'm going to shield the first move. It's quite likely that they do bait. They go for the Body Slam bait, but that's fine with me. We can go and grab that shield back straight away with the Triple Axle, grabbing the shield from the opponent, and now at this point, I can just safely shield this up. Even if they bait once again, they will not make it to a rock side, so very safe for me to just Powder Snow, farm them all the way down. They come in with the Lantern. We're going straight for the Shadow Ball this time around, not baiting, and Shadow Ball does get shielded by the opponent. We then swap and we make a very unnecessary catch. I actually don't know why I did that. This kind of throws the game to the point where actually the opponent might be able to come back in here because they will now make it to a dig. but the opponent actually just settles for an Aerial Ace, so that's fine with me. Doesn't do too much damage. I'm just going for the Icy Wind straight away, since Icy Wind will be enough to take them out there, and these Sparks are resisted. I will make it to a Dragon Claw, but they can go for the full Spark farm down, so this is actually going to put me in a really tricky position. Now I do have a triple axle loaded on my Froslass, but it is resisted. It will not take out the Lantern. So we come in with the Zapdos. They nearly one-shot us with the Thunderbolt, but I'm able to make it to a Shadow Ball on the Froslass, taking out the Lantern, and I'm able to take that game. So GG's to the opponent there. Into the next game we see Zapdos into Wigglytuff, so another core breaker for the team. I'm going to have to stay in this matchup here, and we're just going to go straight for a close combat. The opponent might think it's an Ancient Power, so they might let it go through, and the opponent actually does let it go through. We one-shot the Wigglytuff there, and the opponent comes in with Palossand. I was going to stay in and just let them farm me down if it was basically anything other than Palossand, but since they would get quite a significant mud shot energy advantage, we do come in with the Froslass, and the opponent's got a Skarmory in the back. So Skarmory actually also a core breaker for this team. I didn't see too many of them, so it wasn't too bad for me, but if you do see a lot of Skarmory in your ELO range, then probably not a great team to use. But we do make it to yet another triple axle, and this will get the Skarmory, well, it will take them out there, so the opponent has to use their shield. We're going to come in with the Octobax there, and I try to swap and catch the move, but the opponent holds onto their energy. I'm going to call the bait. I don't expect the Brave Bird first time around, but they do full send the Brave Bird the first time around. And they do barely outpace me to the Charge Move just before we make it to the Icy Wind. So at this point, no point in shielding. They are able to take me out with a Scorching Sands, and unfortunately we do lose that game. But GG's to that opponent there. Into next, we see Spark Lantern in the lead this time around, so they will actually be able to outpace me to the Charge Move, but they don't throw straight away. So we go for the close combat. This time it does connect. Either way, we still swap into our Froslass anyways. Gonna sponge the energy as they go for a Thunderbolt, and the opponent is actually not quite into range where we can farm them down. They would have made it to the Surf, so I use the triple axle, take out the Lantern, and the opponent comes in with a Vigoroth. Now they will get quite a nice farm down here. We can't make it to a triple axle, but the opponent probably going to use their shield there, and they do shield it up. They get a big farm down. And our Zapdos is very low, and also Octopax going to be taking super effective damage from the counters and the rock side. So I'm actually going to double shield my Zapdos in this scenario here, as the second charge move coming through. We shield up the Body Slam. We now swap into our Octopax. I was hoping I could Dragon Breath farm them down there, but unfortunately I'm not quite able to do so. They go for a Body Slam. They've got Venusaur in the back, so it's still looking okay for us unless the opponent gets the perfect over farm here. We go for the Icy Wind, grabbing a shield from the opponent, and the opponent throws just before we make it to the Dragon Claw here. Frenzy Plant takes us out, but we can barely make it to a close combat, throwing on the CMP tie, winning CMP, taking out the Venusaur, and even though we're debuffed, one counter does not take us out, and I'm able to take out the Vigoroth there. So GG's to the opponent there. Into next game we see Skeledirge in the lead, and this is just awful for me. My thinking here was that we could of course be running Ancient Power, so I'm just going to go for a close combat straight away. Hope the opponent throws as well, but unfortunately they don't. They get a huge farm down, and now we're not looking good whatsoever. They've got 100 energy. They can go for super effective Disarming Voice here. I'm going to let the first move go through. Disarming Voice does a lot of damage. They now swap into Double, and this is one of the matchups where unfortunately Froslass isn't going to do as well with triple axle. Going to shield up the Payback correctly. Payback would nearly one-shot us, not quite, but it would put us into range where they can just double kick farm us down. We go for triple axle, and we can make it to a second triple axle, throwing on the CMB tie. I kind of had to throw here just because otherwise they would be able to grab my final shield, and then obviously they've still got a shield remaining. They go for Disarming Voice. That doesn't quite take me out. I tried to make it to the Shadow Ball, but I'm not able to do so. Probably should have settled for the triple axle there, but either way, I think it was game over from the start there, as they're able to take me out with a Disarming Voice, and we do unfortunately lose that game. So GG's to the opponent there, and into the next game, another Lantern, once again another Spark Lantern, and this time the opponent actually throws their energy. They go for a Surf. Surf not quite going to take me out, so here I'm going to go for a close combat, and if they let this go through, or if they shield it, I'm just going to stay in, allow them to farm me down here, and now we can come in with the Octopax. The opponent comes in with a Froslass, so this should be a good matchup for us, slightly ahead on energy. We go for the Dragon Claw. the opponent lets that go through, so I can just safely shield this up. I will be able to farm them down before they make it to back-to-back charge moves, and I'm going to come out with quite a lot of energy as well. So they come in with the Lantern, we can go for a Dragon Claw here, and we're looking to be in a pretty good position. I assume they might have something quite weak to the ice typing in the back, so I'm going to let this move go through. I'm then going to swap into my Froslass, eventually bank an Icy Wind, and the opponent has a Trevenant in the back. So ahead on energy, we will easily win this matchup, going straight for the triple axle, boosting our attack. That's actually not going to be the difference maker here. It's just going to be the fact that we make it to a second triple axle before the opponent makes it to their second seed bomb. Triple axle will be enough damage with the boost to take them out, even without the boost actually, and I'm able to Powder Snow, farm down the Lantern, and I'm able to take that game. So GG's to the opponent there. Into the next game we see Shadow Magnezone in the lead. So this is a pretty decent matchup for us. The opponent safe swaps into Shadow Dragonite. Now it looks like we are just completely walling their team, but actually both the Magnezone and the Dragonite so far have a lot of play up against their hard counters. We're now going to go for a triple axle bait here. This will be boosting my attack, and we do grab the shield, which is really fortunate for us. We can now go for a boosted Shadow Ball. Honestly, didn't really matter if we go for a triple axle or a Shadow Ball. We only make it to that one final charge move, so might as well full send the Shadow Ball, but a loaded Shadow Magnezone is going to be very dangerous for my team. So I'm going to shield the first charge move here as the opponent full sends a Wild Charge. We swap into our Arctopax, and the opponent has Altaria in the back, so I'm going for that Icy Wind straight away here. Icy Wind will be taking out the Altaria, and the opponent has to overfarm perfectly in this matchup, but I don't think they did. They need to be at a Mirror Shot and a Wild Charge, and they weren't quite there, so I'm able to counter, farm them down, and take that game. So that's going to be it for today's video. If you did enjoy it, please make sure you leave a like, leave a comment letting me know, and as well, don't forget to respond to the question of the day if you haven't done so already. And if you want to see more content like this in the future, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on post notifications. That way you'll be notified whenever I upload a new video. But with that being said, thank you all so much for watching today's video, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.